Hello, Divine Souls. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Journey of Soul Mastery. I am your host, Rebekah Cortez. If you're new to this channel, the emphasis is empowerment, empowering your states of existence. And the focus of this video is turn adversity into opportunity. And I'll also be going into stages of transformation. So let's get started. Turbulent times are something that we all experience periodically throughout our lives, and it seems in the moment that we're suffering more than others when we are neck deep in turbulence, adversity, and resistance, but this simply is just not true. Everyone experiences these states of existence more than joy, peace, fulfillment, and love when operating from ego states. This doesn't mean that the states of joy, peace, love, and fulfillment are not present and attainable, because they absolutely are. These are not states that suddenly abandon us, like they can be taken away from us, because we are these states, just as we are lower vibrational states. We are what we choose to be. Either we serve our light and positive potential, or we serve ego and our shadowed potential. Ego shields us from our light like a shadow that when we turn our light up, the shadows disappear. As hectic and overwhelming as it may seem, when you think your world is crashing down around you, there is purpose in what is happening, typically more than what we consciously allow ourselves to perceive, accept, and feel through our higher senses. When we are too attached to negative emotional and mental states that block us from seeing the deeper meaning or the silver lining that exists in all experiences that we face. Resistance, adversity, and turbulence from the viewpoint of ego will be that everything is working against us and everything is our enemy, but they are not. We must elevate our perception to recognize trialing times as opportunity, because this is truly what they represent. Opportunity to transform into more like a butterfly that emerges from a cocoon. Trialing times are like our growth cocoon, and when we stop fighting the process and embrace it as opportunity to learn, expand, and grow, we transform into the best versions of ourselves, like a beautiful butterfly. A caterpillar doesn't doubt or question that it has the potential to be a butterfly. It just trusts the process and surrenders to it and allows the organic transformation to occur. Ego will always convince us that we are not anything more than a caterpillar, but the soul is ever committed to our growth and expansion, and guidance is always offered to assist us through our intuitive pathways. We must stop doubting our lighted soul potentiality and look at challenges as the cocoon of transformation. The caterpillar goes into a deep sleep state when in the cocoon. And this is a perfect example of how we should embrace introspection and take time to go into the depths of our core, to peel back the internal layers that represent all the experiences we have had in our life, and one by one identify the parts of ourselves that are still in pain and require healing. The stages of transformation are acceptance. This is the self-love and worth stage. Second, acknowledgement. This is the responsibility and accountability stage. Third is embracing. This is the adjustment and change stage. And then we finalize it with embodying, which is the alterations and action and transformation. There is a consecutive flow of steps in the expansion process, one stage will lead to the next and works in unison with the last to promote the beginnings of the next stage. This is a core truth of the synergistic process between self-development and spiritual awakening. We cannot cheat and skip any steps just because it gets difficult and we do not want to accept parts of the process. If we try to skip over one stage because we are in resistance to accepting this aspect of growth, we will stay in a looping cycle, manifesting opposition, turbulence, and adversity until we seize the opportunity to accept it and complete the steps that will lead to the next stage. We choose how long we linger in each stage. This is our right according to the gift of free will. We should not allow our minds to think that we are being subjected to judgment. This simply isn't true. Each stage of the process takes us as long or as short as we choose, and the growing stages of awakening will be as effortless or painful as we create it to be according to our willingness or resistance to the process. Adversity and turbulence happen to direct our focus inward to identify what is out of alignment that requires our attention internally to promote balance, growth, reconnection with soul, to awaken our divinity and higher guidance, heard through the intuitive pathways, and to follow our hearts to ignite opportunity for healing. The external experiences that unfold are the physical way that we face challenges to gain opportunity to choose a higher perspective of value and identify lessons the tangible experiences are promoting to optimize our growth and expansion. We all incarnate with specific challenges that are tied to life lessons we must master, but we're also equipped with the abilities required to achieve this journey of self-mastery. No one is exempt from the process of development and spiritual awakening because this is part of our journey. Everything we experience is designed to teach us lessons that hold value about ourselves if we have the courage to stop and up-level our perception, to want to accept it, acknowledge our responsibility in the learning and healing process, embrace what must be elevated, to embody transformation and spiritual ascension. Stage 1. Acceptance, self-love, and worth. Acceptance of self begins when we accept the value of self-love and worth. Self-love is the beginning stages of our spiritual awakening and deepest transformation, because love sparks the process of healing so that we can transcend ego and return to the divine states of authentic truth and wholeness. We must accept that we are worthy of more than suffering to end negative patterns. We start to awaken our divine nature that can only be felt and experienced when ego is not shadowing our lighted potential. We must choose love to open the flow of universal energy within the heart chakra. When energy is flowing limitlessly through our heart center, we begin to unveil the illusions we were imprisoned to within ego states. Love is magic that elevates our awareness. The purpose of elevating our awareness is so we can start to feel and identify all the lighted qualities and higher abilities awaiting our acceptance. We will not be able to learn to trust in our higher abilities to lead us in positive, fulfilling directions that allow us to experience joy, peace, abundance, and all lighted attributes we desire to and are worthy of, if we do not choose to accept that we have a higher belonging that goes beyond the scope of this flesh and blood vessel, an earthly plane. To get there requires us being committed to what requires attention internally to embark on the expansion and growth process through our journey of self-mastery. If we do not dedicate effort in building a solid foundation of love and acceptance for ourselves, we will not manifest experiences that will reflect love and acceptance. Everything is internal before it is externally experienced. What our internal focus and commitment reflects internally will be mirrored externally. The importance of embodying self-love, self-worth, and self-acceptance is so we will allow ourselves to accept love, respect, and acceptance from others in unconditional ways. We set the example that serves as the foundation of how we project ourselves in the world and how the world is mirrored back to us. External experiences work to our favor in assisting us through the learning process. When we extend love to ourselves first, this builds the stable and solid foundation, and high self-esteem, trust, confidence, belief, honor, and value are the solid elements that hold that foundational structure together to ensure that our internal structure is stable, balanced, and illuminating our light potential. When we start allowing falseness of ego states to shadow our brilliant light, that's when the cracks begin to form in the foundation. And if we continue in disempowered states, the internal foundation will crumble, and we will experience opposition, turbulence, adversity. The more we resist the internal remodeling process to reinforce all the necessary stable elements to reclaim lighted states of soul potential. Stage 2, accountability and responsibility. Acknowledging our responsibility in the learning process and upholding the accountability is the second stage of development and transformation. When we embrace love, it opens our hearts to soften our perspective of the process of life regarding self and others. To uphold the responsibility of exercising accountability, we must surrender to the present moment and resist the rat race of the third-dimensional mindset of the world in all aspects. We must slow down and breathe to capture the present moment we are in, and opportunity will slip right by us unnoticed because we're tail spinning too fast to acknowledge the presence of opportunity when it's presented. People are in such a hurry, always scrambling around in hectic states mentally and physically, which creates negative emotional states that eventually feed into depression, anxiety, stress, anger, frustration, disappointment, and disempowerment. People don't hardly see the point in slowing down, and it is extremely uncomfortable for people when they start slowing down. Trying to go into quietude is extremely difficult because of all the internal neglect we have been subjecting ourselves to by focusing on lesser things that are not as critical to our spiritual awakening. When we start to slow down, all the internal neglect will start to rapidly surface. And this is when we usually bolt away as fast as we can. We must not allow the internal turbulence to startle us away from the work that we came here to achieve. This stage is only uncomfortable because we've been so conditioned to tune out how we feel and pay more attention to the thought processes in our minds. We must shift our internal navigational system to observe how we feel more than overthinking all the details spinning around in our minds. We must slow down and reconnect with the rhythm of our soul. Retreating inward is vital to our development and transformation, but also in reinforcing our internal balance. We have conditioned ourselves to always be plugged in and distracted all the time, and it is stifling our ability to be silent internally and totally anchor in the present moment. And because of this, intuition becomes a muffled sound in the background that is ignored altogether. Only our soul's guidance can elevate us in the presence of adversity to be able to choose the responses that will reflect our light potential. But we must slow down and open our hearts to work in the flow of our light and the universe. Ego will always push us to be the lesser version of ourselves, and we will experience so much adversity when we are resisting the process of transformation and awakening. It will get more intense the more we resist the process of expansion, and it will seem as though our world is crashing down all around. But this is an illusion of the ego mind, because we are never alone, and the despair will lift when we choose to shed ego states and elevate our awareness and take responsibility for what is in our internal control to alter, to start implementing change, which allows transformation to occur. Healing starts when we acknowledge that we are worthy of healing and value our right to expand beyond states of suffering that perpetuate pain. This cannot happen unless we identify aspects that require attention, up-leveling, and healing through acknowledging the growth process and allow ourselves to see the value in expansion. Holding ourselves in accountability does not mean we subject ourselves to internal punishment through mental criticizing ourselves, through harsh judgment, shame, and guilt. This only prolongs disempowered states. And the point is to elevate into empowered states that accept, acknowledge, embrace, and embody spiritual awakening. You cannot utilize negative tactics and gain positive results. Acknowledging that we are not projecting the best version of ourselves and choosing to do something positive to enhance our growth and expansion is what our responsibility is in this stage, not bashing ourselves into the dirt face first. Everyone has aspects that require healing and resolve, and acknowledging this is important, but it isn't where the journey ends. It is what boosts our growth journey to the next level, which is embracing change, which requires commitment and loyalty to self and the transformation process. If we are unwilling to acknowledge and embody our responsibility, we will remain in repeating cycles that manifest opportunity for us until we have the light bulb moment and take action to resolve, alter, heal, and grow. We must expand our perception of self and shed the illusions that have kept us operating on autopilot. We start to believe that we are more than this physical vessel, and we start to embrace our divinity, higher abilities, and soul potential when we commit to the growth process of transformation. Stage 3, embracing, adjustment, and change. The embracing stage is our awakening phase of liberation. We start to become free because we realize that we must unlearn what we have learned and let go of the falseness we adopt as truth. Illusions of ego that keep us imprisoned in states of disempowerment to our divinity and light. Change happens when we acknowledge that there is a need for change, and this cannot happen unless we identify aspects that require attention, up-leveling, and healing through accepting our worthiness to love and be loved, and embrace change and alter our current patterns to transform self to flow with our authenticity and truth. Liberation comes when we commit to ending our states of pain and suffering caused when we are conforming to a life that is ingenuine and lesser than we are embracing ourselves to be. We embrace the truth that we are more than what we are conditioned to believe, that serves the expectations of others and not the truth of our inner core authenticity. In this liberating stage, We start to reclaim our conscious empowered states because we start to elevate our higher conscious states of awareness. We start to feel more, see the deeper aspect beyond the superficial surface of the ego-driven world perspective. We ignite the fire within our spirit and start to trust the intuitive guidance enough to act without hesitation. This is when life starts to become magical, because we're elevating our internal focus and it becomes easier to identify all the splendor and beauty within ourselves and the world. We reclaim our truth and connectedness to all life and feel that connectedness deeply. As empowering as this stage is, it is also the stage that most people get stuck in and linger in, because it's all about embracing change. And most find it challenging to let go of the deep-seated programming of ego and let go of all that it is familiar. Just because it's familiar does not necessarily mean that they're healthy states that promote our highest potential. There are a lot of people that settle for less than what they are capable of, only to cling to what is familiar, even if the familiar is dysfunctional and toxic. We must allow ourselves the right to let go and embrace the unfamiliar. Every path we walk starts out as unfamiliar territory until we venture into it. This is the time for internal demolition, to embrace our love and worth, to dive deeper and peel back the layers of past experiences, to pinpoint the moments we surrendered our empowerment so we can heal and reclaim what is rightfully ours. We are empowered beings. I've stated this many times, but there are moments that we surrender our power and put on the mask of falseness. We all remember these moments, and we must look into these shadow states to embrace our right to be free of the pain we have been chained to for so long. We have a right to be free of patterns and cycles that do not allow our light and truth to shine as brightly as we deserve. Embrace change and liberate your states of existence and elevate the realities you experience. The more we fight against ourselves, the more suffering and turbulence we will cause ourselves. If we just let go and allow change to carry us into heightened states, we'll be able to implement what we have remembered as truth, and this will positively change our reality of existence. Ego will never see the value in change, and it will always try to create us to think that it's easier to just remain as is. But in that choice, we will be choosing more adversity and turbulence to be experienced, because ego patterns will keep cycling around and manifesting experiences for you to learn and let go of what is not serving your highest potential. The more we resist embracing all that we have reclaimed, the more we will be tempted to slip back into ego states of suffering. It is only the love we hold for ourselves that will ignite forward positive progress. So eventually, if you want the turmoil to end, you will need to surrender the agenda of your ego to the will of your soul. If we linger in the trap of being resistant of growth and expansion, we will be in a repeating vicious cycle, living out our falseness, fears, and dysfunctional patterns until we decide to end the madness and embrace change and alter what is necessary to expand and elevate past old programming and patterns of ego. We also hinder progress, growth, and expansion when choosing to delay growth for the sake of punishing ourselves and remaining in states of judgment and criticality due to past experiences that are difficult to face for healing, to transform the pain into peace. These states of unresolved within ego will always dictate your paths and choices until you choose to embrace the process of transformation by letting go of all that is stifling positive forward progress. Don't fear change. We live in a dimensional realm of change. Our bodies, time, seasons, everything is in a cycle of change. When you take on this perception, it assists in elevating you to understand that change will happen, and fighting it will only bring you suffering. Change is transformation, and that is why you came here, to experience transformation and transmutation. Stage 4, embodying action and making alterations that promote transformation. Embodying is the final stage. We must embody or put into practice all we have reclaimed as truth to end the cycles of falseness, disconnectedness, dysfunction, and disempowerment. People struggle with slipping back into old patterns, and this is part of the challenge of this embodying stage. It is opportunity for us to step up and fight for ourselves, to liberate ourselves, to harness all the positive aspects we spend time offering to others and shift that to offer it to ourselves. We must learn to lead ourselves and be our own inspiration before we can offer these qualities to be in higher service to the world in healthy ways. This is part of the process that assists us in ending once and for all toxic karmic cycles by choosing to implement positive revelations that change behaviors that honor our authentic nature. We must also embody our oneness to all life, work in the flow of universal energy, and stop fighting against it by allowing ego to sabotage our highest potential. We must embody our divinity and embody the truth of higher self by integrating all the fragmented aspects of self to align as one, working in synergy and wholeness. This is how we reclaim empowerment and anchor it so we are not fragile and surrender it to serve ego's agendas. It is a total alignment of self to our higher self, soul self, through embodying the belief that we are more than this physical existence, more than flesh and blood, more than we have been taught to think we are. It is our opportunity to feel our empowerment by embodying connectedness, to allow ourselves the right to feel deeply, love deeply, live expansively, and experience abundance, joy, and fulfillment in the embracing stage. We shed old patterns to liberate ourselves, to be free and open our hearts, so we can now embody our inherent right to authentically express our truth, absent of negative inhibitions, so that we can manifest and experience the lighted side of our coined reality of potential. But this stage presents challenges due to the nature of implementing what we know to be authentic truth to finally stop the cycle of destructive patterns. The current mindset of most people is instant gratification. Instant gratification is the conditioning of the modern world where we have so much at our disposal. Often, when we embark on an implementing change and don't see instant results, we often throw our hands up in the air and give up. We expect instant results in our journey of growth, but the problem with this mindset is it isn't exercising the element of human nature to fall back into old patterns. Breaking old patterns and altering cycles requires our full committed and loyal dedication to not allowing ego to get back into the pilot seat, which is very difficult It's a difficult bar to hurdle over when we are first starting to deprogram ourselves out of ego-driven states. It's recommended to just focus on up-leveling our understanding of the process of growth and what opposition is representing. Opposition is opportunity to implement your will. The stronger your will to embody truth, the faster your ego-driven patterns will end. Everything takes effort. Even choosing not to do anything different and continuing on current paths and not changing also requires effort. One way or another, you will always exert effort. You must choose how you wield that effort and what that effort is serving. Everything is always working to your favor, although many do not perceive it this way. They just throw their hands up in the air and say, "What's the point in trying? Bad stuff still happens," or "This isn't working," or "I'm not doing it right. This is too hard. I'm not strong enough." This usually happens because the mindset of expecting instant results, as if every single issue is going to just disappear because of a small amount of effort involved. We all must choose to seize opportunity to be the best versions of ourselves despite any conditions around us that we have no control over. If we're faced with someone who is not choosing to be the best version of ourselves, do not reciprocate the same toxic behavior back, because this doesn't solve anything. It only creates more separation and disconnectedness amongst us all. If an endeavor doesn't work out to mirror your expectations, do not observe this as a failed attempt. Instead, look at it as opportunity to go inward and ask yourself if there was something that you didn't listen to. Was there a feeling you got that was a warning signal that you should have not ventured into this? There's always a reason behind everything. Make lemonade out of lemons and do not quit on yourself. I guarantee this is a sign that you're going to experience something that is going to defy everything you thought was possible from your ego's tiny window of perception to envision. So again, this is only growth, and growing pains hurt sometimes, but it is all working to our favor if you stop fighting against your heart and the flow of the universe. Maybe it was showing you how strong you really are. And maybe you needed to experience what you have experienced to learn not to ever doubt yourself, to never allow yourself to settle for less, to disempower yourself for the sake of pleasing others, to see your value and accept how worthy you are, to open your heart, to understand how much quantifiably limitless potential there is in you that you are just resisting to embrace out of fear. There's so many scenarios that fit this principle, but the message is, elevate your perception to recognize the opportunities that all experiences are offering you in your transformation journey. Never give up. You must feel you are worthy of embodying liberation. This is a lifetime journey. And as much as we have reclaimed and remembered at this stage, we will always be confronted with opportunity to implement our divinity and to choose to be the best versions of ourselves. We must strive every day to want to project the best version of ourselves into the world and be the truest version of ourselves by listening to our intuition and following our hearts and feeling more than thinking our way through life. We must embody our right to try hard every day to integrate with higher self and allow our soul to be in the pilot's seat. Thank you so much for listening. Please like this video, share it with someone who you feel could benefit from it, and click the bell to receive future notifications on upcoming videos. And thank you, Loki, in the background at the very end, for your input and wisdom. My little rescued European starling who loves to put in his input from time to time. Bye for now.